Madison. Today we're going to be discussing police brutality and murder. And I want to call your attention to the December 4th, 1969 murder of Fred Hampton in Chicago, chairman of the chapter of the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party, a dynamite organizer who was the founder of the original Rainbow Coalition and who was threatening to unite all of Chicago. He was murdered very blatantly in his sleep with a planted agent who drugged him the previous night to make sure he was asleep. It was a police assault led by Gloves Davis that massacred Fred Hampton in his sleep. His pregnant wife, pregnant with Fred Hampton Jr., managed to escape harm, survived. Mark Clark, 20 years old, was shot through a door. Fred Hampton was 21. And the police cover-up in the immediate aftermath was obscene. In the final analysis, all the bullets practically were in the direction of the Panthers. It was a shoot in, not a shoot out. And in the final analysis, the police and the district attorney and the establishment had to concede that this had been a police murder, and ultimately Dennis Cunningham and other lawyers managed to win the family a multi-million-dollar settlement. However, the blatant murder of Fred Hampton should never be forgotten.
That's right.
And right now, I want to introduce you to Gerald Smith, a member of the Oscar Grant Committee Against Police Brutality and State Repression, the Labor Action Committee to Free Mumia Abu-Jamal, and Liberated Lens, a video collective. He's also a former member of the Black Panther Party. Welcome, Gerald. And Gerald brought with him Patricia and Richard Perez, the grandparents of Richard Petey Perez. Their son, unfortunately, was, their grandson rather, was murdered by the police, by a police officer, and I'm going to let you tell me, Gerald, would you kick it off with just telling what happened?
Yes, and I certainly will. I just want to supplement your report just a little bit that murder of Fred Hampton, because I'll never forget it, put the entire Black Panther Party in just a trauma. We didn't because we didn't know at that moment in history about COINTELPRO, the counterintelligence program of J. Edgar Hoover. We didn't know about it. We were feeling the results of it, but we didn't know about it. It comes out that, in fact, this was a planned thing, and just a little bit on the justice, I guess, I don't know what to call it, but poetic justice. O'Neill, the man who worked as the informant,
suicide.
right, and that poisoned Fred so he couldn't respond, actually later on, much later, in the 90s, committed suicide.
I know. Yeah. And I don't know what to say about that, except that apparently he couldn't live with himself
That's exactly right.
behind doing something so dastardly.
That's right.
So, but also it prompted me to join the Black Panther Party in 1969 and commit my life to fighting racism, okay, and police brutality and the repression and the oppression and the whole 9 yards. So, but let's get to the latest. Oh, it's not even the latest. The latest is killing is Mario Woods in the Bayview, just executed. So we can hardly keep up. And I made the mistake when I send out the notification. I made a mistake and was thinking it would. You had told me about Andy Lopez, the 13-year-old who was shot and killed in 2013. I mean, we can't. It's hard to keep up. So let's talk about Petey,
Okay.
and I'll go to Pat.
Okay. Well,
Talk about your grandson. Tell us who he was, and
he was our only grandson. We have two granddaughters, but he was our only grandson and the only child of our oldest son. And he was not any kind of a troublemaker. He was good. He was working. He was at a party, an impromptu party, the night that he died in the neighborhood of the workyard. And he drank too much.
is this what town is this?
It's in Richmond,
Richmond.
and he was at a party about 3 blocks from our workyard and from the liquor store where he was killed, and he walked to the liquor store at going on midnight, and Officer Wallace Jensen, that's not his usual beat, but he was working there that night, and he had heard that there's always loiterers outside of this liquor store, so he parked on the side, and he left his canine dog locked in the car with the motor running and the windows up so the dog would have air condition. And he didn't have his equipment belt on him at all. And he walked around into the store, and he encountered Petey, who was very intoxicated. And that store, he feels at home there because we've had our workyard there since 4 years before he was born. And since
You have a business.
a small business, yes. And so he was used to going to that store, and the proprietors there all loved him. We have a charge account there because, to buy snacks and things. It's not just a liquor store, it's the neighborhood convenience store. There's not too many stores in the neighborhood. And so anyway, he walked there at going on midnight that night, and he was very drunk, and then here comes Officer Wallace, and he finds him in the store, and he even testified that he was obviously very drunk and his speech was slurred, and he had him go outside and sit on the curb while he ran a check to see if he had any outstanding warrants. He found none. Petey got up to walk away, and so then the cop attacked him from behind, some kind of judo move or something. He knocked him to the ground. He landed on top of Petey, and Petey was face down with a hand backing up. The cop himself must outweigh Petey by 100 pounds. Petey weighed 180 pounds. He was 6 foot tall, and Officer Wallace Jensen must be 6 foot 5 or 6. I don't know how tall he is.
But he was bigger.
He was bigger, and he's like 32 years old or so, and Petey's 24 and slender. And so he's on top of Petey, face down, and Petey landed on his hand. They tell me, I heard that his hand was pinned under him, and the cop had his other hand way back, and one witness said he could see Petey in his eyes. He could see him with like fear, like, I don't know. See, this is one witness that we found, because the police ignored these witnesses. Oscar Grant Committee, I was with them when they interviewed at least 3 witnesses that we found, and there's been 2 more since. But the cops, they want their own narrative, so they don't
Every time.
they don't include that. That
Right.
just doesn't fit in their story.
Mm-hmm.
So Petey, they slandered him, told all kinds of lies about him. They sequestered the police officer in Concord at the Concord Plaza. I forget the name of it.
Hotel.
Yeah, and so there was a detective there and a investigator and God knows who, and they had him there. But they had all of the surrounding area. There's like 7 streets that lead to that. It's at Cutting and Carlson Boulevard, and so they had it all cordoned off, taped off, and so they just worked on their story.
How did he get killed?
Well, Officer Jensen, he had him on the ground, and then people say that he tried to put handcuffs on him, and he couldn't, and And then he got up and backed away, and he drawing his gun and shot Petey. First reports were 5 shots, but 3 shots to the chest and torso. And you see in the video, you see him go into the store like this.
Right.
He collapses on the floor. In the video, you see 4 or 5 policemen. They all walk around him. They never come close to see if they can find a pulse or if his life can be saved. Petey's body laid there for 7.5 hours and bled out on the floor. My husband and I went to that store at 2 in the
That's
afternoon.
reminiscent of what Michael Brown. Same thing.
Yeah. We went to that store at 2 in the afternoon, and you could see a big bleached out spot on the green linoleum where they must have had to use enzymes or God knows what to clean up the blood. But his body laid there for 7.5 hours. We know this because the storekeepers told us. And
And they couldn't go to the body and do anything to it, probably, because from
in the news reports of the
the
day,
way they did Mike Brown, and they wouldn't allow anyone to go
That is
near
correct.
Yeah.
the body.
yeah.
And so I suspect the same holds true here, because people automatically try to go to someone to at least see if they're still alive, if they might be wounded, if they might need help.
Charlie May, the lady that you hear talking first on that video, she wanted to go to him, and they told her to get her ass out of there, or
That's
she'd be
exactly
laying there
what
next
I
to him.
suspected.
And
Let's let Sidney Madison run the video, okay?
Okay.
And let people see
Okay.
what happened, at least what it was shown to have happened.
our son and daughter-in-law, they can't bear to see it. I can barely.
All we want is the truth, because apparently when we read the police chief's report, he says that Petey attacked the officer. So let's just begin. We're talking September 14th.
Okay, I was bringing Petey out the store, bringing him to my house. The police was parked on the side. I got to the corner, the police told me and my grandson to go the fuck home. He told Petey, you bring your ass around the corner. He made Petey sit down on the ground because I didn't leave.
When I was getting out the car, we thought it was people fighting. So when we get out to look, the policeman was beating on him, on Petey.
The officer tackled Petey and he put him down.
Because Petey was on his stomach. He was face down on the ground.
Petey was yelling from pain,
Yeah, when he
was
do like this,
screaming.
he's screaming.
How many times?
Too many times, maybe 3 or 4 times.
And that's a
Okay,
storekeeper there you
so
see watching.
Right
They're Middle
after the
Eastern. His
officer
name is
allowed Petey to
Muhammad Dalik.
get up halfway,
D-E-L-I-K.
he gave him a bear hug and start squeezing him up.
And I'm walking past him, and I'm looking down at him all at the same time. And he's telling Petey to stop resisting. All of a sudden, I see the officer back up, and I heard the gunshots. Boom, boom, boom.
Petey got himself up, and then he was back, and then the police reached for his gun, and he was like, put his hands up. He said, "Don't shoot me, and then he shot him like a few times.
I see
my
Petey.
God, you can almost
He coming
see
in
him.
the store.
See,
He
there
was
goes
holding his
Petey.
chest. I
He's
said,
been
oh
shot.
man, oh man.
Collapses on the
He looked
floor.
at me, and I looked at him. He dropped to the ground,
And nobody took his
no more than
pulse.
4 feet away from me.
He's just laying there.
And he looked at me. That boy never moved again.
Petey was in the store laying down bleeding. I was trying to get in the store. The police put the gun in my face and told me if I didn't back the fuck up, I'd be laying right down with him.
At any point that you were able to see, did you see Petey try to take the cop's gun from him?
No.
His hands were up and he said, please don't shoot.
Yeah, please don't shoot.
At any point did you see
Nobody's
Petey
gone to him yet.
put his hands
All around him.
on
the officer's
Officer
hips.
Jensen's
Nope.
gun?
No,
What about when they were wrestling on the ground?
nah.
I think they would have taken his pulse.
There were no
They want to make sure he's
misact
good
or
and dead.
misbehave by Petey
That's what they
trying
do.
to reach for the officer's gun in any way.
I don't understand why he stopped us at all. I don't understand that because I was bringing Petey home. So what made him stop us at all? That's the part I don't understand.
I don't know if I need to go get help or what, but it's
Let alone a knife, a gun.
I
or
never seen
anything
nobody
like
dying
that.
for
He was
Hey,
just
hopefully
drunk.
justice
Drunk.
will be
So
done.
you get executed for drinking too much now.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, you have to make your justice.
The
That's right.
coroner's
right.
inquest,
Without
they
struggle,
said
there is
his
no
blood
justice.
alcohol level was 0.247.
I don't
That's-
know.
I think
guess that's
0.8, you're too drunk to drive, so
Okay.
0.247, imagine. And we know since then that he was drinking Hennessy at that party.
Okay, are we back? Yeah. Oh,
Oh, he was full, but that,
well, you know, how do you get executed for drinking too much?
Yeah, which
I
one of
mean,
us has never
really,
drank?
well, here's the problem with America today. They let these police officers get away with murder.
Well, this is the horrible aspect of all of these killings is that these police are encouraged to kill because they can do it with impunity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they do it every day. I mean,
Exactly.
I heard recently that something like 355 people have been murdered.
More than
this
1,000.
year-
Wait a minute.
I mean,
This
wait a minute.
year,
No,
1,000.
no, wait a minute. No, that's mass shootings.
Oh,
Mass shootings, 4 or more.
oh, you mean like massacre, like killing?
Mass killings, 355 to date.
Yeah, I
Okay?
was hearing something
If
today.
not more already, because that was 2 days ago to date. Okay? So then as far as black and brown folks are concerned, it's something like every 28 hours, one is murdered by a police or a vigilante. And I think that has been reduced, really. That's
Yeah.
an old figure too now, a dated figure. But you just can't keep up with the number of police killings. Now, let's talk a little bit, Gerald, about this. Oh, I want to invite you in, Richard, and hear your take on this.
Well, just about the
These
same.
police killings,
You know,
just in.
just about the same as my wife says, but I didn't see where Petey was standing behind the girl.
Put the mic closer to
It
you.
must be another tape where he walks in and he stands behind the girl and he's just just being a clown. And then Ellie Mae walks him out, or what's her
Charlie
name?
Mae.
Charlie Mae
yeah.
walks him out, and the next thing you know, that Jensen pops up. He didn't
The
have
cop, Jansen.
Yeah.
and he was just being a regular cowboy because he didn't have his belt with him, with his nightstick, mace, or nothing. He just had his gun.
Oh,
And the next thing you know, he knocks Petey down. This is after he checked him for warrants or tickets or whatever that he at the
yeah,
check
yeah.
for.
They did a background check.
This was afterwards, and by that time Petey was, well, he was drunk and he was mad. He walked away, and that's when Jensen knocked him down. And what I hear people talk about, because I went with these people to interview some of the witnesses, and I was just listening. They said that Petey's one arm was down, the other arm was in the back, and then he finally got up, and that's when Jensen backed up. And Petey was standing next to the door, and Jensen was stepping down off the curb, and that's like 7 to 10 feet away from Petey. And that's when he shot him.
So it must have shot him in the back at first.
No,
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 in the-
He
no,
shot him,
because
shot him in the
Yes.
torso.
Yeah.
Petey was facing him all the time.
Oh, he was facing
Yeah.
him then.
Yeah.
That was before he turned to walk into the store.
Well,
They said he tried to lunge at him,
yeah,
right?
Oh,
yeah, but
they said he tried to lunge at
well,
the cop.
while he was being shot.
yeah, well,
No, I'm sorry. This is.
well, he did because he was shot. It was going forward, but instead of going toward the cop, he went in the store.
Right, because
and you
the
seen him
video
walk in.
showed him coming in,
Yeah.
leaning over.
He keeled over right there, and I didn't see nobody walk up to him to check his pulse or anything.
So what did the DA do
Covered it up
Exonerated him.
They
from the beginning.
from the beginning? Gerald, talk
is
about
bit,
that a little bit.
Well,
go
I
ahead,
don't know if it was a
Richard.
DA or this guy Chris
Chris
Magnus.
Chris Magnus, which is the chief of police, I guess, and he just swept everything under the rug, you know. And
It's amazing how they get away with that.
No,
well,
they haven't
he's-
got away.
They haven't got-
And
thank
that's
you.
the good part of the
Okay.
story.
Okay.
Magnus is going to Arizona now,
He's leaving at the end of December.
and the
And
funny
who's
thing,
Magnus?
yeah,
Chief of
Chris
Police of
Magnus is
Richmond.
the
Chief of Police of Richmond.
he's going to Arizona, and the funny thing is, he's taking a
$20,000 pay cut.
pay cut,
He's dropping.
but over there it's going to be like another 400 or 500 cops more than he's handling here. I mean, why is he leaving?
running out of time.
You know,
He's
he
leaving
wants
the
to
ship.
go before his name gets
Before the
a
stuff
black.
hits the fan.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Exactly.
I got
and
you.
and I hope he takes his broom with him.
But the thing about it is he's going to go and do his dirt elsewhere. That's the thing that they do is they transfer these guys to other
Well,
police departments
that's-
that have,
That's what-
that's very common. I've noticed that over the years. You know, a police chief is extremely repressive with their stop and frisk action in one state, and then the next thing you know, enough hell is raised, and they transfer him to another state.
Yeah.
But they keep him in the same position, and he loses no.
Bratton.
In fact, sometimes they get promoted and they get more money.
But that's Bratton, exactly what you
that's
said.
exactly
From New
what-
York to LA,
LA.
back to New York.
There you go. There you go.
Chief Magnus is very much loved in Richmond. They all think he's just wonderful, and he takes credit for stuff he hasn't even done. He's been on since 2006, and he has them hoodwinked.
What is the action, the justice, for PD committee and the Oscar Grant committee? What are the actions you're taking now to try to address this and try to get some justice for PD?
City council meetings, and more city council
More city
meetings.
council
And
meetings.
police,
Say it.
and police commission, Richmond Police Commission meetings, and Richmond Alliance, Progressive Alliance meeting. We've been to so, if I'm home and I'm sitting down for a minute, I'm thinking, what should I be doing? I got to go to a meeting, whether I do or not.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
So it's,
I
and
know.
we're
I'm
working
feeling
too.
you.
We're
I'm feeling you.
doing PD's work and together with our son and helping. Like today, we went to Sacramento and Davis and Vallejo in a truck, and other days, we're in the truck and we're out there, and we're 75 and 76 years old, and that's no time to start a
Are
career.
you 76?
I'm 75 and he's 76.
Well, we're the same age. 76 is looking pretty good.
What else, Pat? We've had a couple of rallies,
We've had rallies. We have one
marches.
great newspaper woman named Karina Yaffe, who has gotten two front page. Well, one was on the front page of the Tribune, the Alameda Times-Star, the Contra Costa Times, and all the newspapers in the Bay Area News Group. And then the second, that was on Mother's Day weekend. And then the second one was on the first page of the local news, but still, that was September 20th. So she is way up in my book because, she said that Chris Magnus called her boss and told him, why do you want to publish that old news? Because this is Mother's Day. This is May, and Petey was killed in September. I mean, old news.
The nerves
Why
to
do you
call
want
that old news.
That's old news.
Wow. That's how insensitive can
It,
you be?
it is.
Yeah.
It is.
Really.
So,
Vicious.
so she's on a pedestal as far as I'm concerned. And there's been a couple of other news people who've covered some of our things, but we're just not enough exposure because they don't even talk about it. I mean, it's ignored in Richmond. There's a million people in Richmond that don't know. I mean, the population isn't that big, but I'm exaggerating. Okay, most of the people in Richmond don't even know about PD. We went to the Juneteenth thing there, and we had a booth there, and people would come by, and they didn't know about it. And now a lot of people are starting to know about it. You know, it's
What did we do at Juneteenth?
Well, we
Remember?
Yeah,
We distributed 6,000 leaflets.
Good. Good. Tell us about the Oscar Grant Committee. I'm glad to hear that you guys are still active.
Okay. The Oscar
And
Grant.
for those who may not even know about Oscar Grant, give a brief summary of that.
Okay. Oscar Grant, a young brother that was murdered by the police by Meserly on New Year's Day 2009. We consistently, this was a murder that was a little different in that because people videotaped it with their phones,
Right. They caught the police
it
red-handed
immediately, exactly, it
on the
immediately
subway
got out.
platform, jacking up young black men on New Year's Eve and shooting Oscar Grant point blank in the back.
For no reason at all.
None.
I mean, no
said he
justifiable
thought it was
reason.
his taser.
Oh, it was just
No, this is just
just
Lies.
it was a mess. But we stayed on that. We organized
Oh, yeah.
rallies, marches. At one point, they arrested the entire march that we had organized. We wound up winning that case in court, and each participant was paid $5,000 because it was illegal to arrest the entire march. They tried to intimidate us. They tried to prevent us
what do
from
you mean paid
organizing.
5,000? There was a lawsuit and a settlement.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, right. Talk
Oh,
about that a little
oh,
bit. Every now and then we win one, we should
Okay.
advertise it.
Okay, well, as it winds up, they arrested the entire. We had a march for Oscar Grant. It was more than one march, but this particular march, the police used a technique called kettling us. They surrounded us, and you just have to wonder how stupid can they be? Because they didn't. What they're supposed to do is say, look, this is an illegal gathering. You have 15 minutes to leave the area, or
To
5 minutes to
disperse.
leave the area, or something.
Right.
Nothing. They said nothing. They simply arrested us. And the next thing you know, our people, now my job at that point was to keep up with every person that was arrested, give that phone number, give their information to the National Lawyers Guild. And so we had a hookup so that when our people got to the jail, the lawyers were there waiting for them. So they didn't have to spend the night in jail in that particular situation.
Gotcha.
We then went on and supported the National Lawyers Guild and filing a civil suit against the Oakland police on this matter, and we won. We won this year.
And
It took a
so
while, and they see how long that
all
took.
of the arrestees got paid.
Yes,
That's beautiful.
yeah.
That's
I mean,
beautiful.
look, if you have rights, take advantage of it. Fight back.
Fight back.
Don't just lay down and take it.
Absolutely.
And that's
Exactly.
what these guys, because they were fighting back from the beginning, that's how we took notice and we started working with them on this
Gotcha.
issue. To be honest, we didn't know very much about Richmond or what was going on, but I'll just be frank, and I'm not trying to draw undue attention, but the training that I received in the Black Panther Party has never left me. And so we knew what to do. Where do you go if you don't know? You go to the community, and that is what we did. We had a team, and we went into the projects not too far from the liquor store. We knocked on people's doors. We gave people's leaflets about this. We said, who saw this? What's happening? Well, when people see you over hours continuing to come back and working hard, people began to trust us and figure, well, these guys are serious. So next thing you know, we meet Charlie. We start meeting people, and then they started to take us to the witnesses. After we assembled the witnesses, we told the family, and we videotaped and taped digitally their statements. That if you notice in the video, we had overlaid some of the witness statements over the video, so we could get as much information as we could to the people. Approximately 4,000 people have seen that video, and that's not bad. That's something.
That's right. That's Good.
So
Really good.
So as we're meeting these people, they're telling us about Petey. I never met Petey, and it became very clear that he really,
He
every
was
parent loves
executed.
their child, right? But this cat, people really like Petey. He
Yeah.
really, I mean, people
was
thought
popular.
a lot of him. He was a decent human being. And so when we found out from the witnesses, and this is what really we gave us strength to follow through, that there was no way that Petey could take this cop's gun because what had happened. And listen, so people say, well, how do you know? One, the witnesses told us.
Right.
But wait a minute, is that all we have? No. There was a coroner's inquest that occurred, I believe it was December.
10th.
All right? And in that coroner, so here's a lesson. If you're going to support a family, you are required to read all the documents that touch that case that come from the state. So we had read, we didn't get the police report because of the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. They are no longer required to provide that police report. But Chief Magnus had written a report as to what happened. So we read his report and we said, now how would so he just accepts the cop's story? Just to let you all know, the cop didn't even talk to Magnus. He called his union representative. They produced a lawyer, and they, with that union representative and that lawyer and him, they went to that hotel to make up this story before he talked to the chief of police.
Oh my goodness.
That's the way it works with this so-called Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights. So, here we are, at a terrible disadvantage, but we're thinking, we're trying to find a way, we're looking for an opening. So, once we talked to all the witnesses, we were just sure. We were sure that something was wrong. So we kept looking at the documentation, and we showed how ridiculous the police chief's statement was, because he basically just took the statement that the lawyer, Wallace Jensen's lawyer, gave him and repeated it. Then the DA did the same thing. So now we've talked to the witnesses. Well, the witnesses told us that Petey fell, and also, this is crazy, but the police officer at the coroner's inquest said that when Petey was walking away from him, he jumped Petey from the back. Petey never attacked him. He jumped Petey, took him to the ground, and when Petey fell to the ground, he was on his left arm. He was laying on it. That's why the officer could not put the handcuffs on him, because he was laying on his left arm. His right arm, he was holding the policeman's hand. That would be the hand that the policeman might have used his weapon with. So he was holding his hand. They get up, and he shoots him. I mean, it's
For no reason, no.
well,
reason.
no valid reason for
No
sure.
justifiable,
Well,
no
there is no
conceivable
reason.
reason.
But what
He
made
had
this
no
so
reason
bad,
except that he felt like killing somebody.
and knew he could get away. Thought
Yeah.
it's not over. Thought he could get away with it. So when we saw that in his own report, it contradicted his statement about Petey attacking him. He admitted in the coroner's report that he jumped on Petey. So
Let me ask you this: do you think there's a racist element in this?
I think this. In Petey's particular case, we've taken so many of these cases, right? That this problem has gotten so out of hand in terms of police shooting citizens that is now, the fact of the matter is they kill more whites than blacks. Just a larger disproportionate number of blacks. People don't even pay attention anymore.
They just kill poor people
A lot.
across the board.
A lot.
Right.
It's
a lot.
it's out of hand. It is totally out of hand.
Yeah, it is.
So what happens now though is that we then when
It's
we
really
got
classism.
yeah. But it's difficult
And it's
to
worse than that
find
in
the
a way
words.
because I think we have to connect some dots, if you will. The U.S. has been in a perpetual state of war for close to 15 years now, because the Afghanistan war is 14 years old, the longest war in American history so far. It's unbelievable. And with what's broken out all over the region of the so-called Middle East, East Asia, the bottom line is we're in for a lot more war. Now, let's think about this. Our young sons and grandsons are over there being deployed repeatedly and being trained to be killers. Seriously, I had Michael Wong and others on my program, and I'll never forget him saying how he received his training. He's an anti-war activist with the Veterans Against Iraq or something. And anyway, and he was a Vietnam War resistor. And he said when they trained you, they trained you kill, kill, kill. They really train you to kill. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. Now, where are these guys and gals going when they come back home?
They come home and be policemen.
Some of 'em.
Exactly.
That's
A
right.
lot of them come back home. Who's training the police forces? Israel. Have you seen Israel's actions against the open-air prison called Gaza, the Gaza Strip? Have you seen some of their actions? Oh, well, if you investigate, it is terrorizing. And so here we are in a situation where we have killers coming back. We have what's the word for escalating domestic military police and equipping them with tanks?
They
and-
call it the militarization of
Thank-
the police.
Thank you.
And that's
We
Urban
have-
Shield, isn't it?
That's
yeah,
right.
we
Urban
have
Shield.
Urban Shield, we have the militarization of the police, we've got tanks on the streets now, we've got Uzis, and the police been given a green light to shoot, to kill, because that's what they're doing all across the country and getting away with it, and doing it with complete impunity, with rare exception. And the only exceptions are where people have raised so much hell that they had to concede and punish somebody. So let's take a look, talk about Chicago and the killing.
Look, Chicago
Okay,
and South Carolina are very similar to Petey's case in a couple of ways. South Carolina, the cop stops the gentleman's car, the gentleman runs, he shoots him in the back. He then comes back to the cop car to get a taser and put it on the dead body
I remember
of his
that.
victim.
Mr. Clark.
He was lying from the beginning.
No, Scott.
That's right.
Yeah.
But he was lying from the
Walter
beginning.
Scott.
He was
Walter
trying
Scott.
to justify his deed. In the same situation in Chicago, the cop shoots this young man. But what does his report say? His report says that the young man was coming at him with a knife and his life was in danger, so he had to shoot him. That's why they didn't want anybody to see that video. He lied.
The video is all over. It's gone viral. The guy's walking down the street in the middle of a highway, and the police jump out and fire 1, 2, 3, 4,
He's on the ground
5,
now.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I had to dramatize that to let people know 16 shots. How do you justify that?
Well, he can't.
No, so they cover it up. Then the first thing they do is they pay off the family. They give them $5 million. No, they didn't even file a lawsuit.
But it don't come out of their pocket. It doesn't come out of the police pocket.
It comes
So
out
this-
of ours.
I know
We're
it.
paying for our own oppression
Yes.
and repression.
Yes.
$5 million. They gave the family and covered it up when the video finally got out.
Because that brother sued and stayed on
Tell it. Go ahead.
No, you know what? I'm so sorry that I did not write down the gentleman's name.
It doesn't matter.
I was watching the program. They actually had the decency to mention his name because he's the one that stayed on it. And he did a Freedom of Information Act request.
Right.
And demanding that, and he didn't back down. and eventually he got the video. And then,
It was the police dashboard video, wasn't it?
that's right.
So they
And-
couldn't deny it.
Well,
and they
and-
had already hadn't they already confiscated or intimidated somebody who had taken a video?
Yes, it was the local Burger King. The police went into the Burger King and they erased the video, 80 minutes of the video
Right.
at the Burger King.
So
I mean,
now
this is
they're
how serious
forced.
it is.
They're forced to fire the police chief, but Rahm Emanuel's head should roll.
Well, wait a minute. They also fired the cop. They indicted him.
Oh,
He was fired and he was indicted for murder one.
oh,
Oh yeah,
murder one.
murder one.
Oh.
Because he got caught lying. He said the man was coming at him with the knife.
Now how is
Anybody
Rahm
can see he was
Emanuel
walking away.
going to get off?
You always look. I don't know what's going to happen with Mr. Emanuel. He's certainly discredited. Everybody knows that he covered this up at the time
Of course he
because he
did.
did not want it to come up during the
His
election.
election
Okay,
or
but
selection.
well, I'm gonna say this. I want to say, let's see how our brothers and sisters in Chicago did, because I tell you what they did on Black Friday. They got out there
Oh,
2,000 strong, and they blocked Michigan Avenue,
Yes.
which is the gateway to one of the largest malls in America. So it looked like Santa didn't do no activity this Black
They
Friday
shut
in
it down.
Chicago.
They really succeeded in shutting it down. And I think, you know what? That's exactly, Pat and Richard, right? That's exactly what we're going to have to do. We're going to have to hit them in the pocketbook. Really. We can't go up against them with guns. We can't fight back with guns. It would just perpetuate the same thing, the same cycle of violence. That's not where we should go.
No.
But we can sure hit them in the pocketbook. We sure don't have to buy their stuff.
No, we don't.
We don't. We don't have to buy into any of their stuff. And we can begin to work in our communities, and like you are doing, like you're doing now, people out there, you can begin to work in the communities and organize around the issues, such as these issues, police killing our kids, okay? And we should consider all children, all these youngsters, they're our children.
That's right.
And if we
That's
don't
right.
begin to think of our children collectively, we have no future. Our children are our future.
That's right.
Our grandchildren are our future. So what are we doing?
We're getting better.
Change has to come.
But we're getting better,
Right
Keela.
here.
We're getting better.
We
You-
are,
you
aren't we?
starting to, yes, we are. I mean, I'll give you
I hope so.
one of the high points of the Oscar Grant Committee's organizing occurred October 23rd, 2010. We had got together with the longshoremen, and we had got together with the BART workers, who were now, by this time, wanting to take some action about this, because it winds up the police have been messing with the BART workers.
Right.
And the longshoremen struck for one day, and these other workers took off one day, that one day, October 23rd, 2010, to protest Oscar's
remember
murder. And
that.
so that is
Yeah,
a direction
that was a
that
good one.
we strive to take people in. That, to us, you can't just have a fit or throw a rock. You have to
doesn't
get together with the people and organize, and working people's unions still have some power if we look them over and we work with them and we bring them along. So we were successful in that situation, and I'm
Right.
very proud of it. And that this year, what was that? May 1st. May 1st this year.
Yeah.
The longshoremen had a one-day action, one-day strike and action against police terror. So we had a march against police terror. It was not very well organized, unfortunately. We did the best we could now. I mean, we had 2,000 people there.
That's pretty good.
That's not bad. But we would like to have done a lot better. And we think we can. And we think
Right.
we will.
Good. Good. And Richard and Pat? You want to shed some light on your organizing?
Well,
Pat's been doing it all, and Gerald.
Gerald, he's the man. We're just take it as it comes and looking for ideas and take each day one day at a time, and that's all we can do. Maybe we should all write a book You know, what to do when they kill your kids.
Tell me about it. Oh, God. I know.
What to do, where to start.
But Pat, tell about the police commission and the now where we are now, because that's an interesting story.
That is, the police commission. They're being inhibited from doing their job by the Richmond city attorney. His name is Bruce Reed Goodmiller, and his assistant is Bruce Sublé. Two Bruces.
He's the deputy. He's the deputy.
They are stifling and stopping the police commission from doing their job, and that police commission was founded in, I think, 1984 or so, and that's supposed to be a place where citizens can go file a complaint if you've been, you know, excessive force or racist complaint or whatever it is. We didn't file ours on time because we didn't know about it. We're law-abiding people. We don't know how it works. We didn't find out about the police commission until February. And so we filed a complaint, and the city attorney refused it. He refused it. He didn't even tell the city council about it. He just unilaterally took his own decision, and that he sent a letter to us and our family that the case is already, and John Burris is handling the case, and there's been investigations, and another one won't lend no value to it, or something like that. He
That's
said,
right.
yes.
But what's key is
I'm glad to hear John Burris is on the
He
case.
is,
yes,
but
yes.
money can't replace
but that's
your
the
loved
that's
ones.
the
No.
civil case. We are still striving for criminal charges to be pressed against Wallace Jensen.
Oh, I see.
So
Yes,
when we
that's
went
what
to
I
the
think.
police commission, this is what a lot of American leaders know. The people on the police commission welcomed us. They said, "Okay, you know what? We're going to forego the the fact that you were beyond the 45 days. We're glad you're here, and we're going to organize a independent investigation for you." Well, this caused so much ruckus that's when the city. But see, here's something I didn't
That's
know.
when the city what?
The city attorney wrote us this letter saying there would be no investigation. Let me just see that top one. See, here's the point. It was not his prerogative to do so. The police commission is supposed to protect us from the police and the city attorney and their decisions.
Wait a minute, say that again.
I'll say it again. The police commission or police review commission
Oh,
is supposed to protect or help the citizens.
they're like a review board.
Yes.
Right.
Ah.
When people have a complaint about the police or a decision by the attorney, the city attorney. It was not his decision to make. So what then happened is one of the police commissioners wrote this, and we found out that they were having arguments amongst themselves over this case, the majority supporting the family. We then went to the next meeting. They voted 4-2 to open up the investigation.
Oh,
But they
Well,
had their
the investigator, who was pro cop, resigned. And then after he resigns, the deputy DA says, no, this is an invalid vote. And there's something called a city ordinance. It gets into a lot of bureaucratic, in other words, even though they lost, they would not accept the fact that they lost. So now,
sounds like a lot of shenanigans.
it is. But you know what? Now, but what did we keep doing?
were
We
there.
kept coming.
I heard that.
So now the majority of the city council is behind this family. And while, to be really honest, Kilu, I don't want to, nothing negative, but the truth of the matter is that policemen's, a law enforcement officer's Bill of Rights is being used to block every attempt that we make to get some justice. I will say this, that Magnus was the kind of golden boy for the region because, and this is, we
They
kind
ought
of,
to call it the Bill of Impunity.
yes, exactly.
Rights is
exactly,
the wrong word
exactly,
for this.
Exactly.
Yes.
But you know what he did? Let's be clear that when he stepped in, they were dealing with the cowboys and a lot of, just like in Oakland, we had the riders. He did clean it up a lot. They did not shoot a person in 7 years at the time that Petey was murdered. But it does not change the fact that his life was both illegally and immorally taken, and we're not going to accept it. We're going to continue. But let's see, it's tricky because the liberals really love him. They really love him. So it's been, you know, but right now things are going our way. Who can call it, right? Because it's all this bureaucratic kind of stuff. We're going through this, we're learning from it, and we're sharing our information with the public and journalists like you, because we want people to learn from this stuff.
I heard that.
And not a single trace of Petey's DNA can be found on the holster,
That's
the gun, the belt, or anything.
Right.
Forensic science doesn't
so we
lie.
know he didn't
We know
grab
he didn't
the gun.
reach for the gun.
Well,
That's what
yeah,
the excuse they
I'm,
use.
I'm convinced that he was murdered
Yes.
brutally and without cause.
There you
Yes.
And I thank you so much for joining us, and I want to give you an opportunity. We just have a few minutes left, so each of you, if you have a few last words you'd like to share or message you want to send to the audience in just a few brief words.
I really don't know what else to say. We're just trying to get this policeman arrested for murder because that's what it is.
Right on.
And we're not going to give up. We're not going to go away. They're
Right
going to
on.
have to take us out if they want us to shut up.
I love your spirit. I really do. Well,
I got nothing better to do.
thank you,
Thank
Patricia
you.
Perez,
So much. Thank you so very much.
Richmond Perez, Richard
Yes.
Perez. I'm Richmond.
Richmond.
Got
Yeah,
it on
Richmond
the brain.
your mind.
That's right. That's
Richard Perez and Gerald Smith, my old friend, comrade. It's wonderful to have you all here
Thank you.
testifying
It's good to be here.
the activity we all must engage in, and that is stopping police brutality. Long live the spirit of Fred Hampton. Long live
Yes.
the spirit of Hugo Pinel. And power to the people. Thank you, Sidney Madison, and thank you, viewers, for tuning in to Freedom is a Constant Struggle. I'm Keelu Nyasha.